Hey Matt,
Kayla Marie, how the heck are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
Doing good. You're a sight for sore eyes.
You too.
And you're looking thin. Did you lose some weight?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, it's really showing. Those cheekbones are just popping. All right. Yeah, so we got this home inspection report. Usually we don't get these home inspection reports until we actually have one done ourselves and we're in the middle of escrow. But since these people backed out, they kind of did a little bit of groundwork for us.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things I do want to mention, and I think Tawanda already said it, is like we have an inspection report, but I don't know who that guy is. I didn't hire him. I can't hold him accountable. Like I wasn't able to look over his shoulder to see if like he was thorough or drunk or what. Like,
That's fair.
so I never trust anybody else's reports.
Okay.
That being said, like that's a good thing that they got some things like ironed out. He addressed some pretty obvious things that
Yeah.
apparently the sellers fixed. I'm going to pull that up in a second. I'll show you everything that they said they fixed on the paperwork. But then we'll also go over the inspection report too, and I'll touch on some of the things they mentioned in there and how that relates to like generally all home inspections. Just
Okay.
it's kind of a matter of protocol procedure, and then we'll talk about you know getting somebody else out there to you know
Okay.
to do our inspection. So let me pull it up. All right, so this is the request for repairs that they put in. You can see all the stuff that they mentioned on the report as being faulty. The sellers said that they already took care of. So
Okay.
just make note of a couple. Slipped roof tile, which is super common. It's not that expensive, but it just takes time to get a roofer out there and to find a matching tile for
Mm.
situation. So it's good they already got that done. That saves us some time. GFCI on the rear outlets outside, I roll like, okay, it's one of those things. It's like, I put that in like the category of like, child protective bumpers on your, kitchen counters.
Yeah.
Like, all right, whatever. Kid gloves, sure. Exhaust fan in the laundry room. Sometimes these exhaust fans go out, but sometimes they have a sensor in them to where they'll only run when they detect moisture or they have like a slow startup or they're quiet run fans. So
Hmm.
you'll press the button and it seems like nothing happens, but then you walk away and 5 seconds later you hear the fan running. It's like, what
Okay.
the hell? It's so it doesn't surge up too much power. It introduces power slowly and builds up. Or
Yeah.
it's got that feature on it to where it's not a fart fan, it's just a moisture fan, which is one
Yeah.
of those. It's so dumb. I hate these things. I wish they'd rip them all out, but it's, one of those freaking California
Mm.
mandatory new
I
home
see.
things they put in. Yeah. So, anyways, when we have our home inspector go out to the property, these are the things that we really want them to go back over and verify we're actually done completed properly, which we would do anyway at the end of an escrow.
Exactly.
Licensed plumber to repair the slow drain in the sinks. Super common. P traps get full of hair and you know beard trimmings and toothpaste all like build up and form a nasty mess. The only thing with this that I'm really concerned about is if it's a bigger downline drain problem. Like if it's just a slow P trap inside the sink, easy peasy, just pop it
Yeah.
off, clean it out, and you're good. But if there's something bigger like a clogged main line somewhere in the house, that I'm more concerned about. That being said, this is a newer home, so this almost, it's not something we should even really necessarily be concerned with for many years down the road unless the people who lived in the house had really bad habits about what they put down the drains, like
Yeah.
cooking grease and disposable towelettes. Disposable wipes are not disposable. I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody says, they're not disposable. So those things could happen. So we need to keep an eye out on that. But as long as the rest of the house drains fine, I'm not worried about this at
Okay.
all. Licensed HVAC to inspect and evaluate the cooling system. So what they had said was they turned off the thermostat, but the fan kept running. I'm not sure if that's a built-in feature with that system. It's like this happens sometimes, even with your even with your stove and things like that, or a toaster oven. Once you turn it off, it turns the heat off, but it runs the fan for a while because it needs to cool down the equipment in the
Mhm.
system. So it could just be something as simple as that. It might be a normal operating condition, but home inspectors never know because they didn't install that equipment. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that happens with our AC here. We it off, but the fan runs for like 5 more minutes. So,
Yeah. Um, Fan motor remained on, and yeah, that's it. So that's the last of that stuff in there. So let me pull up the report real quick. Generally, all home inspection reports have stuff that's bad, stuff that needs a little bit more attention, and stuff that's just notes. Okay.
mhm.
So everybody has a different way. Like sometimes they color code it differently. Sometimes they call a note a caution, and sometimes they call a warning a hazard, or they just throw around all these terminologies. There's not an industry standard for the terms, but we generally get three levels of severity. Actually, is a problem, might could be a problem, and is something that's like, oh, pay attention or be prepared to do maintenance on this, or hey, this has been upgraded in new construction, which is like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay.
Even a brand new house, a home inspector is going to give you a full report with 15 pages and it's going to look like a bunch of problems, but it will just be full of those notes, things to like, oh, we weren't able to inspect this. Right, because they can't, get up into certain parts of the crawl space. So there's like a whole page saying we didn't inspect this.
Yeah.
Or there'll be a whole page saying, hey, um, drain lines are subject to this, and this problem, and you as a homeowner should be aware of all that stuff. Even if they never even went out to the house, that full page of stuff is going to be on the report because they have to put that in there. So
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is like weed through the guff and find the stuff that actually like matters. And this report is super light, which is another
Mhm.
reason I'm like, yeah, let's get another inspector out there
Okay.
because, yeah, not saying they didn't do a great job, but like this is a very clean inspection. So,
Yeah.
and it's either a very clean house or the guy who did the inspection was like in and out in 5 minutes.
And
Something
that's
else
from
you
January. So,
what's that?
and it's from January.
Yeah, a
We're
lot
in
can change
June.
in 5 months. Yeah. Something I want you to realize as well is like these, certifying bodies for home inspectors. There's no like government level home inspector like certificate or anything like a contractor, like a building, construction contractor. They get a license through the state and it's like maintained through the city and county and stuff like that. Like it's real official, but home inspectors, they don't really have an official body. Even real estate agents were licensed through the state, the Department
Yeah.
of Real Estate. But home inspectors don't have any of that. They've
That's
got these
interesting.
kind of, I want to say made up. They've
I
got clubs. Like they're like, I'm certified through this club. So like
see.
this group of people came together and like made a badge and and sold people credentials so that they sound more uh certified than
Yeah.
what they really are, like more official than what they are. So anytime you see these things, it's like take it with a grain of salt, right? It doesn't You want a home inspector that really knows what's going on, who subscribes to all the latest updates in building codes and inspection procedures and stuff like that. And if you got somebody that was previously in the construction industry, it's even better.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, we got all these things, just all the hyperlinks. All right. Um, this here, they're just telling you this, if you see in, they inspected it. LI means they only could partially inspect it or they didn't inspect it. Wasn't here or is recommended. Home inspectors also, so when you do your home inspection at the house, the inspectors are going to go through everything, and we're not going to sit there because they're going to do this for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
We're going to show up in the last 30 minutes as the guy is wrapping up. And then as soon as he's finished, we're going to sit down at the kitchen table together. He's going to break out his computer, his notepad, and he's going to show you all the things that he found. And then we're
Okay.
going to like walk through the house and he's going to point to the thing that he's talking about so you can see it for yourself. So
Okay.
you guys only need to be there for that like last 30 minutes.
Perfect.
And they'll usually go over all these things in their report and explain to you how their reports read so that you can interpret what they're writing.
Okay.
So I'm kind of sort of doing that for you here.
Yeah.
All right. From what I can tell from this guy's report, all these little greenhouse icons, it's kind of weird that they would be green. These are what he's calling the hits. So those are the things that are standing out to us.
Okay.
And it's not uncommon to see like a Cliff Notes section like this, or like what some people call a summary or something like that. And this just like gives you, a condensed like, sticky note version of all the hits that they found. So immediately I'm like, this is like a page of hits. This whole section's here saying, "Hey, we're just home inspectors. You can't sue us because we're not actually certified by anybody that matters."
Yeah.
They can't tell you how much something costs to fix. They can't tell you how to get it fixed. They can't tell you who to go to fix it. And there's certain things like they can't touch stuff. So their whole job is to look at things and point it out and say that doesn't seem right. And that's as
Yeah.
far as they go. I got a lot of clients that go after home inspectors after things are done. They're like, that home inspector didn't find this, that, and the other. And they're like, hey, I'm not tearing out drywall, to
Yeah.
go look for leaks in your house. I'm just, if I see a stain, I call out the stain. That's it. They're just kind of like a bird dog that just like points their nose at whatever the thing is. And they're like, you need to talk to an adult to
An
figure this
adult,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. This is pretty cool. Looks like he threw a drone up in the air, which
Hmm.
I greatly respect. And he's pointing out here, like you can see the pictures of all the tiles. Most everything here is really clean.
Hmm.
And you can see this just got this solar system looks like the one that they put in when they built the house, which, it's part of California's new building code that they all have to have solar panels when they're built now. It's crazy.
Oh, so
Um,
it's they're dead. They're not active.
oh, they're active. Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
okay, never
Um,
mind.
yeah, but instead of somebody having the house made and then, or the house being built and then they go out and find solar panels, now the state of California says you have to have solar panels installed on all new home
Might as
construction.
well, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And you can see right here, it's not a very big system and it's
Yeah.
barely going to take the edge off, but whatever. It's the minimum required by the state.
Hmm.
All right. It says right here, we do our best to inspect all areas, but we only look for deterioration. So they can't tell you how long this roof has been here or how long it's going to last. They can just tell you if they see something that's actively broken or missing, which is what they did right here. This tile has slipped. And the way these tiles work is they kind of start at the bottom and then they just stack a tile on top of a tile on top of a tile all the way up. And then sometimes they'll slip out or
Yeah.
sometimes they'll break and be missing. And if that's missing, water's going to go down and it's going to get under the remaining tiles and get to the roof, and that's a problem. It's really, and just so you know as well, the clay tiles up top, they block sun, they block hail, things like that, and bird poop, and they keep the sun from destroying the paper underneath. The paper underneath is the real hero. It's the waterproofing agent, right? If the tiles weren't there, the sun would burn up the paper would rot, and then water would get into the wood. But the tiles protect that so that the paper can do its job. So having a missing tile is not like, oh my God, water's getting in the house. It just means that now that paper is vulnerable. And, if you don't take any action, then the paper can deteriorate and then you will have a problem.
Okay.
You're saying they're using a drone here. Condition with a qualified roofer. Yeah. Got some pictures of the attic. They didn't mention anything up in the attic. It's hard for them to access attics. A lot of times they can only just like pop their head up and look around.
Hmm.
They're generally checking the wood up there to look for any termite damage. They're checking for stains, meaning that, there's obvious signs that water has gotten into the roof. A lot of times they're looking for busted, disconnected, or like collapsed ducting inside for the HVAC or anything like
Hmm.
that, or if the HVAC system is leaking condensation water inside the roof or inside the attic that goes into the house. That's a common thing. And they're also generally looking for insulation. These
Yeah.
newer homes, you don't really have to worry about this all that much, but they are tract homes, so sometimes builders just skimp and shortcut. So
Yeah.
you look for that. It appears that they didn't. It appears that they didn't find any issues in there. And
Yeah.
this is just a note. Exteriors and grounds. Some of the things that they really look for with this is they want to make sure that the concrete is draining away from the house. It's a big one. They want to make sure that the grade of concrete has about a 4 inch gap before the bottom edge of the stucco on the house begins, because that's what allows moisture to wick out of the bottom of the stucco. Otherwise, if the concrete and the stucco are one, as soon as water hits the concrete from rain, it's just going to go into the stucco and the stucco is going to slurp it up
Yeah.
like a wet rag. You'll also have them talking about vegetation. They don't like any trees or bushes or anything up against the edge of the house, and they're going to look for cracks and stucco and stuff like that. But it doesn't look like it's too much. I believe these are made of they're like a stucco kind of puffy material, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Super common with stucco houses like this one. These features, these shapes are actually made out of foam and then they
Yeah.
get stuccoed over. So if you hit it with something hard, it's just gonna bust it.
Hmm.
Ain't nothing you can do about it but just patch it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's cosmetic purely because there's like 3 inches of foam before it even gets to the house. So
Hmm.
you could cut them all off with a knife and it wouldn't actually change anything. Grading, I said they can't really check the drainage system. Door stoppers missing. Minor tears on the screens, that's going to happen with every house, especially the ones
Yeah.
that are facing the sun. Plus, your cat's going to tear them up
Yeah,
anyway.
we're like, oh, there's some animal trying to get out there.
Pet possum's trying to escape. Permits and inspection records, yeah, they're always going to say to check those. Garage looks pretty good. They always check the garage doors to make sure that the laser on the bottom works so the door will go back up if somebody breaks the laser. That way, if a kid or a bike or something is laying across the door, it won't close on it.
Mhm.
Uh, looks like we got on the garage wall some stains on the wall. Like it's a garage, it's gonna have some grime. This looks like a new feature. The garage door openers are supposed to have a backup battery pack on new construction now.
Get off. Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't actually even seen one of those yet, but I'll be looking for that. Safety reversing device, they said that it did work and the sensors did respond to the test, so that's good. And again, they're saying, hey, get some work done on it periodically.
Hmm.
Electrical systems, one of the things they do here is they look at the electrical panel and they'll hit it with a heat gun and see if it's got any hot spots. If there's a high temperature, that means there's probably too much amperage, too much current going through the system, which means you might have a short somewhere. And shorts increase heat. Heat leads to fire. Fire, no bueno. Something else they look for is there's a certain way that they like wires to be, connected. They don't like having, you know, uh, more than one wire connected to a grounding point and things like that. Little stuff that used to be okay nowadays are like, hey, you can't do that anymore. So even though you might look at an electrical panel that is perfectly fine and everything in the house works good, they might condemn it because they're like, oh, we don't do it that way anymore. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, it hasn't had a problem in 20 years, but you're saying I should think about changing it now. Okay. But it's not like it's action you have to take. But sometimes they're like, hey, this was, put together with improper material. Like somebody used some like hand-me-down wire,
Yeah.
like extension cord wiring instead of proper Romex, that could be an issue. But it looks pretty good here. The GFCI outlet, it's just a GFCI outlet is just an outlet that's got a built-in circuit breaker. Well, all outlets go to a circuit breaker on the outside. So it's like, meh, yeah, it's an added layer of security. I get that. And it has a lot to do with the fact that it's outside and it's subject to water, but you honestly can live without it. Like we made it for 100 years without these.
Hmm.
He did not test the 220-volt outlets. These are in the garage. You're going to use these for generally the car charging
Hmm.
or for washers and dryers that run off of 220-volt electric. Most of what's in the wall right now is 110, but 220 is the higher voltage pack you use for like heavy equipment.
Okay.
Most people, honestly, like probably, I don't know, I would say half. Half of people never even touch one of these 220 outlets. If they don't have an electric car and they have gas supply in the house, they usually just use a gas dryer and they don't, again, if they don't have the electric car, they generally never even touch these.
Yeah, but if we were to get one, obviously we just have to ch test it first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's easy enough to do. I mean, you could test it with a multimeter. It takes two
Mhm.
seconds.
Okay.
Honestly, it's kind of weird that the guy didn't test it, but they only usually, I guess they only carry around those little pocket testers. Yeah, I don't know. He said the light fixtures on the outside didn't come on, but it could be that they have a an automatic shut off for daytime.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. So you might want to check them like after dark or the light bulbs are out. But I'm not too concerned about this. They probably work. You can't test they don't test the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors because to test carbon monoxide, he'd have to release carbon monoxide in the house, and we don't do
Oh.
that.
Yeah. What the hell?
And the smoke detectors is the same thing. Like you can press the button to see if they screech, but that's not going to tell you if it detects smoke or not. So if you feel like they're old or, they need to be replaced, like it's probably a good idea just to get it done. That, and
Yeah.
if you don't, they're going to start chirping at you sooner than later.
Yeah.
And they don't test solar systems. Of course, like all they can do is just test power in the house and see if power comes on. So it's not really a formal test for solar panels. With plumbing, they usually check the water pressure in the house to make sure that it's in the proper PSI. They want it, I think, 40 to 80 PSI. What happens is, just in general terms, the water pressure that goes into a neighborhood from, say the local water utility, it's very high. It's like 120 psi. And it has to be really high because it has to have enough pressure to feed all the houses and have like, high standard of, a volume that it can push out to everybody. So it's usually at a higher level than what you want in your home. So you have uh, a regulator, a water pressure valve that's connected right at that source as it goes into the house. And what that does is it restricts the pressure down from 120 to that 40 to 80 range. Over time, they get weaker and weaker and weaker, and they have a harder and harder time resisting that pressure. So what happens is, if one's old, 10, 15 years old, you might see it gets up to 80, even 90 PSI. And that's an indication that you should change it. Now you might be thinking, hey, that sounds like really great for my showers. But the problem is all your systems and appliances and stuff in the house that use that are calibrated to the 40 to 80. So if they get too much water pressure, it can blow out seals and stuff like that. And you get leaks in your dishwasher, leaks in your refrigerator, and it's no bueno. So
Yeah.
40 to 80 is the sweet spot. And then for drains, they obviously want to make sure everything drains. So what they'll do is a lot of cases they'll run all the faucets, right, and they'll try to completely fill up the drain lines. So they'll run tubs and showers and sinks everywhere for 3 to 5 minutes just to fill up the drain line from the street all the way out to the house. And if there's a big blockage after 5 minutes of running like every water outlet in the house, if there's a blockage, it's going to fill up and you're going to see that things start to drain really slow. And that's how they know that they got a main line blockage. If they only run just like one faucet at a time, that'll tell if that faucet backs up, but it won't tell if the main line's backed up. So
Yeah.
different inspectors will handle that differently, but the good ones, that's how they do it.
Okay.
They don't do anything with gas lines. It's not like they break out a gas sniffer and look for leaks or anything. But if
Yeah.
they smell something, then they'll bring it up. But other than that, that's about it. And a seismic shutoff valve is an upgrade, but it's not mandatory.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, if you have an earthquake and, the line gets disconnected
Mhm.
and it can sense that suddenly it's like surging gas, it'll whoop, shut off. It's, hey, that's too much.
Yeah.
Washer connections, faucet and drain not tested because there's no washer and dryer, so they didn't run anything.
Hmm.
Sometimes, um, actually, in most cases, they will not run the washer and dryer because they're not sure if that equipment will convey with the house.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, they'll ask me first and see if they want to run it. Some people won't run it because they don't want to take the chance of that equipment leaking everywhere if something goes bad, and they don't want to be liable
Yeah.
for blood. So it's 50-50 if you get
Yeah,
that
it's one of
checked.
those things for sure.
Yeah, it's a liability. Gas service available. This is a slow drain we were talking about before. It's probably just a P
Hmm.
trap. Sealants, this is super common. You're gonna see this all over the place. That's just something, when you have a house you got to do periodically.
Yeah.
They get funky. Isaiah can go in there with just a little razor blade, cut it off, and then
Yeah.
just put a new seal back
Do
on.
it. Okay.
Easy peasy. The exhaust fan, we talked about that. What that issue could be. Sprinkler system, they're just saying that, they don't test those, and fire sprinklers, they obviously don't test those. Water heater, you got the upgraded, not upgraded, but modern, like on demand tankless water heaters.
Okay.
These are great. They'll tell you probably in some of this write up as well that with these, there's extra equipment that they want you to put on these things like sediment traps and all this goofy like add ons. You don't need any of that shit,
Okay.
but they have to say it to avoid liability. So, take it with a grain of salt. What I will say for these systems is they bring in water that's got a lot of, mineral deposits in it because that's just, municipal water for you. So it's good periodically, like once or twice a year, what you do is you hook up like a garden hose to it to the purge valve, and then you flush it. And what it'll do is like it's got its own built-in like filter component or whatever, and the instructions you can either find them online or they're on the pamphlet that's attached to the water heater. But you just connect a garden hose to flush out the water, and then you just run it, and then that'll flush and drain out all the deposits. Do that twice a year, you'll be fine.
Perfect.
All right, exhaust vents. Another thing that's cool about these tankless water heaters is they are so efficient that the exhaust gas that comes out of this heater is at a low temperature because they make sure all the heat goes into the water. So they have just plastic like PVC pipes that
Oh, wow.
push the exhaust out. It's so crazy as opposed to your tank water heaters that have to have a metal pipe that goes up, because they not that efficient.
Yeah, that's
Kind
cool.
of cool. Yeah. Uh, this is the annual maintenance that they're talking about. Sediment trap is not on there. That's that upgrade we were talking about. HVAC systems. They want to test the HVAC, or particularly the AC side, to see that it drops a number of degrees from ambient temperature. If the ambient temperature is at a certain, like if it's too low, then the system can't take it from low to lower, right? And they'll recommend that you don't run the AC. So you wouldn't run the AC in the wintertime. If it's below a certain temperature,
Yeah.
the inspectors won't even test the system, and they can't do it because they're like, if we try, we might break this thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll just run the heater instead. So just something to keep in mind. Unit was tested using normal operating controls. And you definitely want to change the filters often. No one ever does, but it matters.
Yeah,
The-
we have a lot of like air purifiers and stuff here around the house and full of cat hair. So we know. We're familiar.
yeah. All right, it says here fan motor stayed on after turning off. Yeah, and that's between you and me, like we talked about, that's probably normal.
Yeah.
Cooling condition, outside air temperature is below 60 Fahrenheit. Okay, so they didn't run the AC. There we go. It was below 60, so they didn't do it. And that was back in January. So now
Mhm.
when we get our own tech out, they can actually test that because it's certainly over 60 now.
Yeah.
Unable to inspect all the ductwork. because they can't access all that, like we talked about. If they can't get in there to see it, then there's not much they can do. Kitchen appliances, they'll usually turn these on and make sure that they heat up, make sure the burners run and that the oven gets to a certain temperature. Sometimes with the microwave, they'll put like if they if the house is occupied, they'll take a bowl of water and put it in there and see that the bowl of water starts to get warm. Looks like everything here was good. But again, this, like you said, this was 5 months ago, so it's probably time to check them again. All right, floors, deteriorated caulking, second level bathroom shower. That happens. This is the the rollout linoleum that they put
Yeah.
in bathrooms. Caulk's good for like 5 years, and then you got to redo it. It's just the way it is. Unusual stains at the kitchen ceiling. Could be spaghetti sauce.
Yeah.
Could be a leak from upstairs. I don't know. This picture doesn't really help us out very much, but
Yeah.
we'll look at it again once we get the inspector out there. Kitchen sink grout. Easy. It's just some more sealant. And that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this got charged some 475. So the guy that we usually use, Mark, he's on vacation for 2 weeks. So I'm getting a referral from a buddy of mine who works the area.
Okay.
He does a lot of business up here. He's a good guy. So I'm gonna see what his guy will charge us to get out there and get it done.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be comfortable getting another one too.
yeah,
Doesn't
really.
hurt.
It's one of those things I'm on a soapbox about. Like there are places you want to save money. This is not one of them because
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
they just find that one thing, and that one thing could be a total deal breaker. It's money well spent for peace of
Yeah.
mind.
And especially
And
since
also, like that generally like translates right into credits anyway. If we find something that's jacked up, like
yeah.
and we get the seller to fix it, you've made your money back.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.